Hi there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's first and #1 English fluency guide. And in today's video, what I'd like to do is answer a question from Sheila. And this is, how do I stop thinking, hesitating, and translating in my head before I speak English? Now, this is a very, very common problem. So if you also have this one, we are going to give you the solution right in this video. But also remember that it takes time. You can't just learn a tip or some knowledge about how to do something. You have to practice it. Practice, practice, practice. And the reason we practice is so we can develop habits. Hopefully you're learning these things and remembering this with me each time I'm teaching these things. It's all about developing the habits of a native speaker. So if you learn like a student, you're going to speak like a student. If you learn like a native speaker, you're going to speak like a native speaker. It's very obvious and very simple. Anyway, so first, let's talk about learning the wrong way if you want to be a good speaker. Learning the wrong way if you want to be a good speaker. Now, there are two ways to learn a language. The first way is the classroom way, where they give you lists of information. You do drills and hopefully try to push and force information like you're going to hammer it into your mind so that when test day comes, you can practice these things and be able to use them and pass the test. But the problem with taking a test is that you have time to answer questions. So if I get a question, it's like, which is bigger, this or that? And it's going to give me 4 different things. So I have to understand what the sentence is asking me and then choose the right answer. Then I have got time to do that while I'm taking a written test. But in a conversation, I don't have time to do that. I can't sit and think like, wait. Give me time to think and try to say this thing in my head and I'm going to translate it. So all of that, like all of the kind of tools that you use, the ways of learning that teach you through the non-native way of learning a language. And this is typically, I would give you, like if I'm a Spanish speaker learning English, I would learn like red. And then I would learn, like the English word for red, but I'm learning it through Spanish. And again, learning a language through another language, you're trying to make a connection there that does help you for tests, but it does not help you when you're speaking. It actually just makes you more and more frustrated. So every day that you're continuing to learn more, you're watching YouTube videos online. Like if I'm from the Ukraine and I'm trying to like watch and learn with English videos online, I should not be listening to like, a Ukrainian person that's trying to teach me English. Like you can learn a little bit from that, but really you're just going to hurt yourself. And I hate to say it, but really it's true. Like if I'm trying to learn Japanese from an American English speaker, like, yeah, they might know a lot about that. But if they're telling me things in English, then I'm making that subconscious connection in my mind between the thing that they're saying in English and then Japanese. And then when I have to go into a conversation, I also have to make that same step in my mind. So I have to listen to something and then try to translate it in my head. And then maybe it's correct. And then maybe I try to speak. And this is what people get worried about because they don't even know if they're using the thing correctly or not. And this is because they're learning a language for tests and not to become a confident speaker. So if your goal is to become a confident speaker, you have to stop learning like a student and start learning like a native speaker. And now this is a perfect way to do it. See, right now, the way I'm speaking, this is the same thing that a native speaker would be learning if they're trying to learn like gardening, for instance, or they're trying to learn science or technology or anything else, whatever they're studying. They're listening to a native speaker tell them things and explain things in a simple, easy way that hopefully helps them connect information. So getting back to this stopping translating things in your head before you speak, you have to, instead of learning things through your native language, which is again what's causing you to translate, you have to learn things all in English. And even if maybe your understanding level is up here, if your speaking level is down here, you have to bring your level of understanding back down here and start learning things and practicing with things that you can maybe more easily understand. So as an example, like my kind of conversation ability in Japanese is just fine. But years ago when I was trying to speak, I had to like read books for little kids or watch TV shows for little kids. Even I still go back and learn things when I'm watching TV shows with my daughter, who's about, she's almost 2 years old now. But we still will watch some TV shows in the morning and I'm always surprised at some new thing that I learned from that. But I can learn all of it in context because I'm learning it all in Japanese. And so if there's maybe 1 or 2 words that I don't understand, I understand at least 80 to 90% of what I'm learning But because it's all in Japanese and I can maybe ask a question or something, like my daughter will be like, oh, I'm like hearing a word from her, like, oh, wow, where did she learn that from? Like I'm even learning new words from her already, which is amazing. But all of these things happen because I'm, number one, learning it in Japanese. And number two, it's because I already understand maybe 80 to 90% of what I'm learning. So all of the things, when you're first, like to first speak properly, you have to understand things and be able to understand what it is people are talking about. Now, from that, you can start copying the things that you hear. So instead of saying things like, I'm going to translate it in my head, just try to speak quickly, but say something very basic that you can say. So if I don't know how to say some more difficult thing, again, you bring your level of understanding and your ability level back down to where you are so you can build it up again. And so this means like I can just say a basic sentence like, my name is Drew, but I can maybe improve that to say like, her name is Drew, or her name is Sally, or, whatever. So I'm just taking that and I'm slowly changing one or two things and I'm adding maybe a little bit more. And this is the second part of that, which is like you expand on the things that you say over time. So you're practicing the same thing, but you build a kind of slight variation onto that thing. And again, my way of learning the language is really simple. You're basically just doing it the same way a native speaker does. A native speaker learn something and then they think, okay, how can I change that so I could use it in a different context? So I say, wow, it's hot in here. But maybe I walk outside and I'm like, oh, it's hot out here. Oh, wow, look at that. I can take that and like that's how a native speaker begins to play with the language and starting to use the language in English like that without thinking about it. So you're taking something and because you practiced it, then you can apply that in a different situation. And as you start doing that more and more, you translate less and less. What's really happening here is you have bad habits that cause you to translate. So now you need to remove those bad habits and replace them with good habits that actually get you speaking fluently and confidently without having to think and hesitate. Now, it really does feel amazing right now. I can speak in Japanese. Like I even just think in Japanese if I'm trying to think about what I want to say, and that's fine. Maybe I don't know some words or I'm trying to think about a different or better way to explain something. It's okay to think about things before you speak, but what you don't want to do is think about things in a different language and then try to translate that in your head. So go back to the level where you can understand at least 80 to 90% and you can actually speak that. So even if it's a simple thing, practice saying that, introduce some variations into that thing, like that sentence. So instead of I go to the park, my friend goes to the park, something like that. But this is what's going to help you develop the habit. And it's not about information you learn, like more words, more phrases, the same way that you've been learning the language before. You need to learn it all in English and then practice. It's the practice that develops the habit of fluency. And if you're not willing to do that, really, there's no help. There's really nothing you can do. There's no lesson, no program that's going to help you if you're not willing to actually just get out and practice. But the way you make practice fun is by changing things around, practicing things like I go out and say like, hey, how's it going to somebody in English? That's like a very common greeting. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Or I could say, hey, how are you? Or how are things? How's life? How's everything? What's up? These are all different ways of saying, hello, how are you? But when you go out and practice these things, again, you're learning greetings and you're learning to say things in different ways. So it's taking one idea and introducing some variation to keep it interesting for you. But as you go through the different variations, you develop the habits that help you use them automatically. Well, I hope that explains for you how you should be doing it. So if you are using a different language to learn English right now, stop. Do not do that. Just learn everything in English. But if you have to, take it down to a more simple level that you understand at least 80 to 90% of, whether that's reading or TV shows or music or anything, so that you can build up the habits that help you speak confidently. Well, I'm getting hot over here. I'm speaking too much. Always trying to give too much information, but that's how you do it. If you have enjoyed this video, do click that like button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, and tell like 30 people about this. If you got a classroom where you're learning with other people that are also like trying to learn it through your native language, say, hey, don't do that anymore. Go watch this guy, Drew. He'll explain to you exactly what you need to do. And that's what I will do. So I'm happy to do that. But anyway, have a fantastic day. And finally, The most important part of this is if you really want to improve not only the way you sound, the way you speak, and go into other things that help you speak automatically, take our free English fluency quiz by clicking on the link in this video. It will share exactly what you need to do in order to become a confident, fluent English speaker, specifically for the problems that you're most frustrated with, and we're happy to help you do that right now at EnglishAnyone.com, absolutely free. So click on the link in this video to begin doing that, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.